Did you see the clip of Butler at the Sparks game talking about number 22? And then, he did a tweet, and there's just a lot of breadcrumbs being dropped really from that Pat Riley press conference and some of the stuff Spoelstra said. And Miami's making it clear we love this guy, but we're also really disappointed with how this season went, is the read I'm getting from them. We want our best guy, if we're going to pay him this much money, to play basketball more. And we want to have more success. And we appreciate 23 and we appreciate 20. But moving forward, we're not doing this anymore. And then you have Jimmy on the other side, winking at the Lakers. And it just, Russillo, we've been here a lot of times. When the breadcrumbs start dropping, I take notice.
The first thing I thought of from the most recent footage is that's why he tells his assistant, he's like, stop telling me I need to sign up for Raya. I don't need to. I'm good. I show up in a jersey and it's on. The other thing where this all started was maybe it's pre-Pat Riley basically calling him out for talking shit about the Celtics. I mean, that was a really rare thing that happened. That
he didn't basically call him out. He called him out.
Yeah, he did something so many other GMs are so afraid of doing, because there'll be times you'll hear stories about, well, why did you do this? Or why did you do that? And you're like, we're always in fear. We're living in fear all of the time. Now, 30 GMs may not agree with me with that, but there's enough GMs that live in fear of doing all the little extra things, catering to the star the entire time for just that fear that one day he's going to walk in and say, hey, I actually want out of here. And you have Riley on the other side just going, nope, like I'm going to go out of my way to publicly criticize you, even though you're the face of the franchise. And Riley may have done it without any idea of a backup plan. Now, maybe with Riley having this many decades in this sport, maybe he's on the short list of guys with enough juice that can pull it off and do it. But then you'd have to also want to do it. And Riley clearly wanted to do that. The same way when LeBron left Miami.
That's the big one. 2 days before got out there when he called him out. Yeah.
Yeah. And he got out there and he was letting him have it in a way.
That was this is hard speech.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
This is hard. You're not supposed to bail just because you didn't win the title one year. It's hard to win the title. This is great. It was one of my favorite Riley moments. I would add to what you just said, though. Riley's old. And I think old people hit the point sometimes in all aspects of life where they're just like, fuck it.
Yeah.
It's like the old Jerry Seinfeld joke about old people backing out of the driveway where they hit a point where they're just like, fuck it. And they just go back. They don't care if cars are coming. They just go backwards.
Yeah, naked guys at the gym. Same thing. Like there's a certain age, I believe they get together, like you hit 70, they all have a meeting, they pull you aside, and they just say, hey, balls everywhere. It's over. We don't have to worry about it anymore. I'm convinced as soon as if you're still in the gym lifestyle at 70 years old, I'm sure that somebody reaches out to you. You're like, oh, I saw you have a birthday coming up next week. Here's the protocol. So
they say that about first base coaches too. First base and third base coaches. Balls out.
Anyway, I interrupted.
Scrotum high.
Because we agree. There's something that happens, and certainly Riley is north of that age. And also whatever accomplishments you would need to feel comfortable doing that, and also the job security on top of everything else, because the Butler thing's still unsettled. And if it were unsettled, maybe they're like, hey, he's older and this is their ceiling, so I don't even care. But he may have done this if he was just extended and 32 years old. Who knows?
Well, and then the other piece of this ecosystem where teams aren't allowed to tamper, but teams are allowed to put it out there off the record to reporters like a Philly situation. We have a lot of cap space. We love Jimmy. Just kind of put that.
Who doesn't Philly love, by the way?
Philly loves everyone.
Philly's in on.
Go down the list on anyone who makes more than $20 million a year. They love them. But he's somebody that I don't know if they have the assets, but the Lakers one is pretty fun because you could put salaries together with picks. I think Miami would have to get a third piece. I don't think
Miami feels like I just always feel like they're a team that needs the player coming back, and they've really never prioritized draft picks. So keep going.
Right. So if it's like Rui Hachimura and Gabe Vincent and multiple picks, I don't think Miami's going to be like, oh, cool. Now we're out of the Jimmy Butler business. Like they want stars and big ass players. So if they're moving Butler, whatever version that he gets from whatever team would go somewhere else to get somebody that they actually want. Like the Mikal Bridges, Brandon Ingram, whoever they talk themselves into. I think that would be why you do it. the bigger question for me is just, does Miami feel like they just had this incredible run at the blackjack table with Butler, right? 4 years. They made 2 finals. He played great. He's probably a Hall of Famer now. It couldn't have gone better. And now it's like 2:30 in the morning. And this is like when I'm at the casino and they're starting to vacuum. And Sal's like, let's go. And I'm like, no, one more hand. And I think Miami's like, they're vacuuming. We should go. Let's go cash the chips in. And that's what I wonder with this Butler thing. Are they just like, this is only going to get worse? He's older. He's got a ton of miles on him. He misses 20 to 30 games every year. We've peaked with the East is better. The West is way, way, way better. And we are paying for past performance now. Let's move on now.
They lucked into Butler too. I mean, Miami finds a way where, whether it's all the guys going down there to start the Heatles, they had the right situation. They had the right star in place already. Remember when all of those guys did their extensions? We're like, why do those guys do shorter rookie extensions? Like, why was that? Why was
everyone but
Bosh
Carmelo?
Doing
Carmelo
this?
never got the memo.
Right. He wasn't on the text thread. So, and that was the next extension. I don't believe that was the rookie extension because LeBron came in 7 years prior. But when I think about that, it's like, okay, I'll give you some credit, but I don't know if it's just the Heat way. Like the Heat way was at an all-time, it was a 52-week high in 2023, the whole Heat culture deal and all that kind of stuff. But sometimes I think there's a mistake of just believing because of that and then figuring out a way to get off the Whiteside stuff and then getting Butler in there, that they're just supposed to luck into the next one.
Well, you forgot Anthony Carter in 2003. That was the best one because the agent fucked up his contract. They were able to get rid of him, basically. They were able to steal Lamar Odom from the Clippers and then a year later get Shaq because of Anthony Carter, basically. So they've had some positive luck moments that they took advantage of.
Well, big time, too, because the Shaq part of it, remember, it's because he wasn't going to get the extension from L.A. L.A. makes their choice. They move on from Shaq. And then Miami's like, we'll do it. And it completely works out. But those last couple of years for Shaq were going to be dark. And then luckily they had a new owner syndrome deal in Phoenix with Robert Sarver being like, this is going to be awesome. It's like, this goes against everything that you guys have been doing basketball-wise here for a while. So you could go through a bunch of franchises and say, hey, that worked out, or they got lucky there with all these different things. But it feels like Miami, more than any other franchise, we just assume, I guess, it's going to happen again. And we can read the breadcrumbs and all the flirting and all the stuff that Butler wants to do. And he's a difficult guy. But he's their guy, and he was their best option at the time. I just never see them in rebuild mode. I just don't.
I mean, not with Bam.
Well, Bam's,
and not with Bam and Spoelstra, where you're like, no, I'm agreeing with you. You Bam and Spoelstra, and you have some good peripheral pieces, and then you have the Butler piece. But
they still need that one score, and at least Butler's that. Whatever his limitations are and the frustrations of how he treats the regular season, and maybe talking to yourself into a ceiling that's a little bit higher based on the run of 23. I love Bam. Every team should want a Bam, right? He's like one of those guys. But I don't know how aggressive they would get. Maybe they're just afraid of what Butler's going to be like without an extension, and that's what they already know and why this is already happening.
Or it's like the classic little both sides winking at other people at the bar, but ultimately they're going to get back together. But I just feel like there's a lot of smoke